Welcome to the Fit Vegan Podcast, the show where we help you optimize your health, fitness, and mindset on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. My name is Maxime. I am a former triathlete, powerlifter, bodybuilder, and basketball player, and I've been vegan for over 9 years. I'm also the founder and CEO of Fit Vegan Coaching, which has helped over 500 vegans from 20 different countries to completely transform their bodies and their health. I'm excited for you to hear today's episode. Let's get into the show. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Kate, the founder of Strong Body Green Planet. Kate, how are you doing today?
Maxime, it's a pleasure to be here. I am doing great today.
Beautiful. We're like in the opposite sides of the world. Ultimately,
I
we got
love it.
like 15 hours difference or something like that?
Yeah, I am in the future. I'm a day ahead of you, and I love the way technology lets us do this.
Beautiful. Just tell me what the lotto tickets are, because you're ahead of me for one day.
I don't do lotto, so I can't help you out.
Me neither, but it would be great if that's how
It
it
would be
actually
good.
functions. Yeah, awesome. So, you're a renowned coach. You've helped thousands of people transform. I'd like to dive into like your own personal journey before we go into like practical things that you've helped your members go through, how you coach them, how to overcome obstacles that they tend to encounter on their journey, just because I want people to understand where you're coming from, right? And people that have a heart for helping others have had something happen to them that led them to be in this position.
Gosh, you're so right. I don't know whether to start with the vegan or the fitness. I'll start with the fitness and then maybe we'll backtrack. But I resonate with what you said because I got into fitness first as a way to transform my own body and my own confidence. I was a debilitatingly shy teenager. And then, I discovered the gym and I discovered the control over your body, the way it looked and felt that gave you. It would be a further decade or so before I actually became a personal trainer. But then I guess on the vegan side of the journey, I actually became vegetarian first, like
Mhm.
so many of us. Sadly, I started with vegetarian and stuck there for 23 years. I became
Wow.
vegetarian I know, I'm so disappointed in myself. I know lots of people relate, but I became vegetarian at 16 because I didn't want anyone to die for my food choices. And now I understand that was an oxymoron, fast track 23 years. And at that stage, I'd been a personal trainer for a decade. I was following a low carb, high protein vegetarian diet. I was super happy with how my body looked and functioned. And I watched Cowspiracy and I
Mm.
found out that I'd been lied to. We've all been lied to. Animals were still dying for my food choices. I was eating up to 21 egg whites a day and they were free range organic, but that's just marketing. And
Yeah.
so, at that stage, I guess 7.5 years ago now, that was when I adopted the vegan lifestyle.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Talk about egg whites. When I was bodybuilding, I used to drink my egg whites because it would just like take too long to cook all of them in one
Yeah.
sitting. Yeah. The
And
things we
how
did to get fit, air quotes, to get fit.
100%. And how did we not get sick all the time? Because we were having raw egg whites as well.
Yeah.
And those poor individuals were living in horrific conditions. And I was feeding them up into egg white meringue, which was still raw, and having that with protein powder. And it was protein on protein because I was still scared of carbs at that stage and scared of fat. So I was basically just pretty scared, I guess. But as you hinted at, I many of us looked okay on the outside, but on the inside, it probably wasn't so good.
Yeah. I didn't know if I wanted to share this, but to me, I think it's messed up looking back. I used to put chicken pieces and vegetable inside the omelet. That's like
Yep,
putting daddy inside the baby,
a
basically, and
hundred
like cooking
percent.
it. It's gross.
In hindsight, it is repulsive. However, sadly, it's pretty normal, especially within the fitness industry.
Yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
talking about like you got into fitness because you were more shy, so that kind of helped you build some confidence.
It absolutely did. Like it was just, I guess it was something that you can really take control of. And that is one of the things I still love about fitness and something that has kept me in the industry for so many years. It's not necessarily what you're born with. It's not about how much money you have or how connected you are. The people that get results with fitness are the people that put in the effort. They can't buy the effort. You know, they can buy the personal trainer, they can buy the flashy gym and flashy clothes and all of that. But to get the results, you actually have to put in that effort consistently. And
Yeah.
I do consistently well, and you see the results for that. And I love my clients seeing the results for that as well.
Beautiful. And so was there any changes in your body when you went from vegetarian to vegan? Because obviously you were vegetarian for a very long time, and that probably cleansed your body from a lot of the things you were doing before. But did you see any shift between that transition?
I will say I was terrified. I was in a very gym bro type of a gym at that stage, and I was already the freak for being vegetarian. They were very much into their steak and eggs and all of that. And when I
Yeah.
rocked into the gym one day after seeing Cowspiracy and announced that I was now going vegan, I remember one of the trainers that is very sciencey and I do respect, kind of going, "Well, goodbye lean muscle mass," and he was wrong, obviously, thankfully,
Yeah.
but I was really scared because I thought I would gain fat. I thought I would lose strength, lose muscle, lose energy. Most of all, I thought I would lose food deliciousness and food
Mm,
joy. And actually, I didn't lose anything. My strength increased a little bit, but I was already in a pretty good place. So my body composition basically stayed the same. And the main thing, as I'm sure so many people will relate to, is the weight that was lifted was an emotional weight of incongruency. So the
yeah.
incongruency I felt, even though I was ignorant to the suffering I was still causing as a vegetarian, there was still like a weight there, whether it was a weight of unknowing, whatever it was. I just felt congruent when I made that shift.
Yeah. And so not seeing, I say, put it this way, not seeing big changes is a good thing also, right? Because a lot of people are looking for that difference between a
So true.
transition. And a lot of the times we're comparing like going from a meat eater to eating vegan. But in the specific world of fitness and building lean muscle mass, no changes is a great thing because then you've
Mm.
just proved to yourself that you can maintain your lean muscle mass and build some even without consuming 21 eggs per day.
100%. And I will say I made it as hard on myself as possible early days because I had a point to prove. So I clung to that low carb, high protein vegan for quite a while, actually. I didn't have lentils for probably the first year. Oh my gosh, Dr. Greger, I'm so sorry. Now I
Yeah,
love
all the
lentils.
doctors are upset.
100%. So and I also tried to, I was like, I did my research. I tried to have all the micronutrients in every single meal, all the micronutrients that we have to be aware of. So I was putting spirulina in everything. I was doing too much work really, but bit by bit, gradually, I kind of released that need to be perfect in every meal. And a lot of that came with the research that I did. Like I looked what other vegans were doing online. I looked how they ate. I saw they had plenty of whole food carbs. I saw they had plenty of soy. And I just started bit by bit changing the way that I ate to be a much more balanced whole food vegan approach.
Yeah. So was that transition hard for you to go from like, because again, I've been in the fitness space for a long time too. From going from low carb to
Yeah.
high carb, there's a lot of fear for a lot of people.
There was fear. I guess it was gradual. And your body knows what's good for it. Like, really,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel guilty that I perpetuated that myth that like bananas and potatoes are going to make you fat. Like, that is
Yeah.
just ridiculous. I have shame over that. And then you eat these foods and your body feels amazing and they taste delicious. it means you're eating all these micronutrient dense, amazing quality foods. And surprisingly, you're not craving that low carb crapola processed stuff that I used to demolish as a vegetarian. You know, all the fake protein bars and all of that jazz that I used to love and crave. You're just
Yeah.
eating those whole foods, and there definitely was fear, but bit by bit, I guess my body proved to me that these foods are great, not bad.
Yeah. And so did that continue on your path for fitness? Like you still been able to see amazing results from transitioning to eating vegan and eating whole food plant-based and eating high carb?
Yeah, 100%. And like I've gotten a lot older now. I'm not like in my early 20s like I used to be. I'm 46 and it's still much easier than I would have expected to maintain the weight and the fitness and the energy levels and absolutely the deliciousness. I will say, one thing to be aware of is we have so many amazing options now so far as the vegan junk food. And
Yeah.
obviously, I do indulge in that from time to time still, and it can be good as a great as a transitional food, but that is something to be aware of.
Yeah, totally. And again, there's nothing wrong with some vegan ice cream from time to time. I'm whole food plant-based too, but there's a reality of the world that we live in. And
Yeah,
when Haagen-Dazs or Ben and Jerry makes a vegan ice cream, sometimes you just want a little bit of it, and that's okay.
for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about transformation. So how many people have you coached? That was a pretty big number.
So I've been a personal trainer for 17 years now. So all up, it's got to be thousands when we talk about not just the one-on-one type stuff, but everything else. And I guess the people that listen to the podcast and are on the email list and all of that sort of jazz. However, for the past, I guess, the past almost a decade, I've barely been taking on new clients. I've got clients that have been with me that whole 17 years, which is
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. And so each week it's not a large number now, but it's a very loyal, long-term number of clients.
Yeah. They're friends basically at that point.
Oh, they are
Yeah.
absolutely friends. They're a combination of friends that I love to hang out with, and some of them I do hang out with, or amazing business mentors that I can't even believe I get to spend one-on-one time every week with, let alone they pay me for that time, and let alone because most of my clients aren't vegan because they've been with me for so long, let alone
Yeah.
these hugely influential people are listening to this like sometimes crazy passionate little vegan animal rights activist in their ear, like planting these little vegan seeds. It's an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. How did they find it challenging to hang out with you as their coach? Because they're like, I want to have a beer and some cake tonight. And they're like, ah, Kate's there. We can't have this.
It's funny, one of my best friends who I met when I first became her personal trainer, maybe about 15 years ago now, we used to have this exact conversation because her goal was weight loss. And, I would know how she would eat on the weekends when she was hanging out with me. And she's good at the tough love and putting me in my place when I get a little bit too extreme. And I remember one Sunday afternoon when I was about the vodka soda and she was about the beer and hot chips. And I must have said too much. And she said, "Babe, right now you're my friend, not my personal trainer."
Yeah.
And I guess you've got to learn your place in that regard, and yet equally be able to say to her when you're back in the gym, "Hun, if you're not getting the results that you want as fast as you want, there are some changes that we need to make."
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I saw that when I hung out with a few of our members. It's like we're eating out somewhere. They're like, I should make the healthy option. I should choose a healthy option on the menu because Maxime's there.
Do you know too? I guess on the other side of that, it is so beneficial for them to spend a day with you, like many of my clients have, because they actually see how much you eat, the quantity and
mhm.
quality, and you're not starving yourself. They always get surprised by how much I eat, but they also see that the unplanned little worthless, nothing, low nutrient value food that you don't want, you say no to, whether it seems rude or not. You eat a lot, but most of it is planned and most of it is high value.
Yeah, absolutely. So jumping into the people that you've coached, I feel like there's you've been at it for over a decade now, so I'm sure there's patterns that you've seen that people tend to encounter when they're wanting to transform their body.
Yeah.
What are some of the main patterns that you've noticed in people?
So far as struggle streets, I guess one of the things that I reflect on is people assume they have a lack of discipline. So many times my clients will say to me, "Oh my goodness, you're the most disciplined person I've met." And my reframe is actually, I have low discipline. I've just outplanned my lack of discipline. And that's
Yeah.
what you need to do. So, and it's not kind of a one size fits all. It's more so 100 little mind games or strategies that you set up for yourself in advance. And the thing I see that keeps, I guess, so many people struggling with their fitness goal is they assume they're going to be more disciplined in the future than what they've been in the past. And they keep setting themselves up for the same failure or disappointment. So whether it's letting food into the house that isn't aligned with their goals and they assume they'll be able to steer clear of it until they have guests over on the weekend or whatever it may be.
Or a glass of
Um,
wine that kind of like brings down the barrier a little bit. Yeah.
all of it, all of it. It's like none of us have discipline. Those of us that have great results probably have the least discipline, and we just set up amazing like barriers for us to stick to actually make it easier on ourselves to succeed.
Absolutely. I'm happy you brought that up because not a lot of people talk about that. And it's true that there is this perceived expectation that once they commit to transforming, that somehow magically an unlimited amount of discipline will show up out of nowhere to keep them on track.
100%. And it's amazing how how disciplined you can be in those first couple of weeks where you've made some big changes and you're seeing great results. But where it really counts is when you're going through that period of not seeing results to be able to stick with everything, stick with the habits, stick with the discipline, not fall off track. That's where it really counts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it's those stressors from life that they can for a month or two kind of push those additional responsibilities that they have to just focus on this one thing,
Mm,
but eventually it starts to leak back in and then it becomes too much and then they feel overwhelmed and then they start to become non-compliant, right? It's like
100%.
I don't know if it's a great analogy for it, but it's like holding your breath, right? You can only do it for a certain amount of time before you pass out, right? So that's what people do in their transformations. Go, I'm just going to
Yeah,
power through this. And eventually you got to
so true.
breathe. You need to have a more sustainable way to do this than to, you want to hold in your breath by sucking in your stomach if you want to get skinnier, right? You can only do this for so long before people realize and you pass out.
100%. And really, it's amazing that really smart, successful people, it takes them a long time to realize, some of them, that you only get to keep the results for as long as you get to keep doing the action. So if you go hell for leather for however long and get a great result and then stop completely, those great results are going to fade away as well. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So fast
that's
too.
so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You take one, you get 2 weeks off. If you've been working out for, 2 decades, you take 2 weeks off. You're going to get smaller. You're going to get fluffier. You're going to get a little bit chunkier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So that's a great pattern. Do you have any other patterns that you notice amongst
I
the people
do.
that you've coached?
I do for sure. The people I coach tend to be like well educated and well read, and there's such an abundance of information out there, and it can be really confusing, and it's intentionally confusing. And they will so often come to me with like some latest study or data or whatever it may be that supports keto or butters back or whatever it is. And I
Yeah.
find that really frustrating. And I guess at heart, look, we're looking for research to support our bad habits, right? If we have bad habits that
Yeah.
we want to keep, for
Yeah.
me,
They
it's
go
red
like,
wine.
they're
Yeah,
like, hey,
like
Kate, you missed this study. This study says I can drink wine.
100%, 100%. And so far as plant-based and fitness and everything like that, of course, there's so much research to back up the fact that a whole food plant-based is such a sustainable, healthy way to live. However, there is other conflicting evidence out there if you want to work really hard to find it. And
Mhm.
that's where I always come back to the ethics of it. I think those of us that are vegan for the animals, we really do have a big advantage because that is non-negotiable. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what study comes out about like how bad beans are for your health or how good cow's milk is for your health. I'm just not going to be swayed when I've seen what we do to animals. So sadly, you can't introduce that to your clients at the wrong time. People will
Yeah.
take on that information when they're ready to hear it, and you can't shove it down their throats as much as I've tried. It's just not effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say as well, from my experience, a lot of people might adopt the lifestyle for their health or for environmental sustainability. And once those animal products aren't on their plate 3 times or more a day, something strange and beautiful happens. Their heart opens to the plight of animals once they're not eating them so many times a day. I think their head and heart are blocked to that pain and suffering while they're a part of it. And once the animals come off their plates, they're more receptive to learn about what's happening. And once they
Yeah.
learn about what's happening, it makes it easier, obviously, for them to steer clear of those products.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. It's looking the other way ultimately,
Yeah. Ignorance with
right?
volition as well. I like, yeah,
Right. It's yeah, it is. You can show them the videos, and if they
yeah,
actually remove the wall that's in their mind and they actually feel the emotions behind it, everyone will be touched, right? And I always like
hmm,
to tell people, if you're so pro meat, like here's a knife, go kill a cow, skin it, you
yeah,
prepare it. 99%
yeah,
of people couldn't do that,
of
right?
course.
Because
Yeah,
they just, you can't look at the animal and do that, right?
yeah,
Ultimately. And so it's easier to look the other way, grab something in the grocery store that's packaged, and then eat it and then justify it to yourself until you're
100%.
kind of ready to be to open to it. Because yeah, there is like a negative energy that is lifted off of you once you
Hmm.
stop consuming that negative energy.
Yeah, it's so true. 100%.
Yeah. So going back to your point before we talked about the animals, I think like the expectations that people have when they start is a thing that can throw them off quite rapidly. Have you noticed that of like, hey Kate, I'm gonna come in with you and lose 20 pounds in 1 month, for example?
100%. I mean, it's on us really to ensure that our clients have realistic expectations because we've seen so many people. We've seen who succeeds and who doesn't. And I'm also a huge fan on enjoying the journey as well as that end goal. And I'm great at this so far as health and fitness. I need to get better at this in other areas of my life. So it's always a constant learning for me as well. However, it's not just about the number that you see on the scale and whether that's disappointing or not. It's about the energy you have and the lifestyle you're modeling to those around you that you love, the better sleep, the better mental acuity, all of these things. And I would agree, it's super important to manage expectations. I think too, something else that I want to say, going back to early days with any new clients, something I really super recommend is eliciting their values and their beliefs and aligning those values and beliefs with the attainment of their goals. So I guess to give a little bit more clarification there, imagine my two most important values are freedom and integrity. So for me, like, freedom could be, in a really ineffective way, freedom could be all about getting to eat whatever I want, whenever I want, and that is freedom. Or more effectively, freedom could be about having the health and fitness and energy and body confidence to do whatever I want, whenever I want, and feel happy and full of energy doing it. Integrity is really, really easy for someone looking to adopt a plant-based lifestyle because that ties in with the ethics of it. You know, if I say I'm a compassionate person who doesn't want animals to suffer unnecessarily, then
Yeah.
I really have no choice. I'm not going to eat those products. Or even if you don't care about the animals and you just have a body composition goal, if it really is important to you because you want to model that health and energy and vitality to your children, say, it you are only a person of integrity when you are doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I just had to put my glasses on. The blue light was like burning my eyes from being at it on it all day. I was like, my eyes are watering. I need
Good
to
on
do
you.
something.
Fair
I was
enough.
like,
Rock
I'm
those
gonna
glasses.
cry. I'm gonna cry as you're talking. Um, so I would love to talk about, the study aspect, right? Like the kind of like your clients coming in with like, hey, there's this new study. I feel like there's something that people will make a semi decision to start the transformational journey, but then they didn't make the decision to cut off the old habits, the old way of being, because then that's when they're looking for ways to justify their bad behavior. It's like, maybe it's actually not that bad if we look at this study, or they're still in the process with you, but they're looking around for another shiny object somewhere, like, this might be better than what I'm currently doing. Did
Yeah.
you ever notice any of that?
Yeah, 100%. And that means that they slash I, we haven't jumped in deep enough with the emotional intensity behind the why to achieve that goal. And maybe we haven't jumped in with the values and beliefs. So they're just saying, hey, I want to do this plant-based thing to lose some weight or whatever it is. And I'm like, yeah, great. This is what we do. This is what you eat. This is what we do in the gym. And it's not enough. We haven't dug in. When it gets a little bit tedious, they have a bad vegan meal, as we all will, and we all had bad meat meals as well. Or they see an attractive, well marketed study that says bacon and eggs is it.
Yeah.
They don't, they're like, all right, good, let's bounce to this. What do you reckon, Coach Kate? Because we haven't laid the foundation for their future success. We haven't really dug deep into the pain that the way they are feeling right now before they start, into the intensity of that pain and how bad it's going to look 12 months down the track, 24 months down the track, 5 years down the track. And we haven't really dug into the pleasure of how their life could and will look when they have achieved that goal. We haven't aligned it with their values and beliefs. People just want to get going straight away with the actions, and the actions
Yeah.
are fun and easy. And as a coach, you can go, yeah, I've got you. I've got the delicious meals. I've got the amazing training plans. But it takes, I guess, some discipline and some patience to go, hey, let's just do this foundational stuff first, though, because even if you don't feel like you need it right now, I
Yeah.
know you're gonna need it to fall back on down the track, and it's gonna be worth the time and effort.
Yeah. And I think it's very important the work that you're doing to kind of set those people up. Because if not, it's just like, you ever like jumped off a cliff when you're with friends in the summer, right? You're like, I don't want to do it. I just need to like close my eyes and do it. You just have your little screw it moment and then you jump. And I feel like some people will be like, I need to do this, but I'm kind of like still wary. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like stick to it, but like screw it, let's just do it. And they just jump into it and they want to go as fast as possible so that it can be over. And then yes, they miss
Mm.
some of those foundational things, right? Which I think is really important that you're doing that.
It's so true. And also, when your heart is so aligned with a vegan world, like that is what I want. I want a healthy, happy, compassionate vegan world. I am in it for the long run and for the animals. And so I take it personally, and I get like really frustrated when someone has a bad experience of a vegan lifestyle, and maybe they think this is not something that works for them. I want it to work for everyone. I want them to
Yeah.
do it right and sustainably and get an amazing result. And I don't want that bad feedback on the lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say are, let's go two top traits that you've noticed in your members that are the most successful? And it can't be compliance.
It can't be compliance. Um, Definitely, I would say personal responsibility.
Mhm,
So they're not blaming circumstances or people around them.
mhm,
Um, I am lucky enough to have a couple of clients that model the opposite of that. Like I think the anti-mentor is also almost as valuable as the mentor. So if I look at
yeah.
my clients that aren't getting results, they are always blaming other people. and they're not taking personal responsibility. And the reverse is obviously true as well. The clients that I most love spending the time with, strangely, they're the clients that train at like 6 a.m. And they're the clients that take 100% ownership, accountability, responsibility for their results. And obviously they implement, but more so they have the mindset of, always looking for the best in any negative situation. And it's a true pleasure to spend time with those people.
Yeah. So we have ownership. I want to dive after into like how to get those. What would you say is a second trait that some of your top members have?
Oh, what would be my second trait? I'm looking through individuals right now. Well, this is really boring, but this is the trait that anyone that gets results has, and it is consistency.
Hmm.
So rather than that short term silver bullet kind of a focus where they bounce from program to program, trainer to trainer, whatever it may be, consistency is the thing that people that get results have. And that includes lateral thinking. So they're not just focused on that big vision in the future. They're really good at finding the kind of sideways alternative, the thing to do instead when life jumps in their way. When it's raining and they're due to go for a walk, these are the people that think, all right, I'll do the home workout, or I'll go for a walk tomorrow, or even better, I'll just put on a raincoat and umbrella and go out in the rain and have that walk. So they're really good at finding the alternatives to still get the result when things jump in their way.
So they're adaptable to the
Yeah, adaptable
circumstances.
is a great way of putting it.
Yeah. So ownership and adaptability would be some of the two biggest traits. So how can people have more ownership? How do you kind of help or coach people to have a little bit more ownership in their life?
I would say the most important thing, it's the same with any type of habit change. First, you have to have a really clear awareness of what the way it is right now, like what that is costing you. As I was saying to a client yesterday, how's this current strategy working for you? And he's like, yeah, it's not. We were talking about his automatic negative thoughts, his
Mhm.
negative focus all of the time. And he's like, how do I change it? And I said, well, the first step is the awareness of what the way that you are, how the way you are in the world right now, what is that costing you? It's costing you a lot so far as joy and results and everything else. I think
Yeah.
after awareness is you brainstorm ways to make it better. And for some people, this might be things that they've done effectively in the past. Many of us, we've had habits that have worked really well for us and we've seen the
Mhm.
benefit to them. And then for one reason or another, we've let those habits slip. We've stopped them and it's time to jump back to them. For other people, it may be looking at the people around you that have the results that you want and really analyzing what they do and thinking, how can I model what they do, their strategies, what they prioritize, what they do make time for, what they don't make time for, how they think. Really look at that. I think so. It happened to be an ABC. We had awareness, we had brainstorm, what you can start doing and what you can stop doing. And then I would also say make a commitment to make those changes. Maybe obviously share that commitment with your friendly trainer, share it with your family and friends, the people that love you most. Share your
Mhm.
goal with them. Ask them to call you on your crap when you're coming up with that automatic negative thought or when you're reaching for the chocolate in the evening, whatever it may be. Actually give your loved one the permission to call you on that crap kindly with your
Yeah.
best interests at heart.
Yeah. I love that. I'd love to add something to the part of ownership, which you shared earlier. I feel like it's disempowering for people to
Mm,
blame other people because
for
then you're
sure.
just fully admitting that I don't have any control over
100%.
myself or my life because of this person, because of this circumstances. You're just willingly giving that power away
Yep.
versus taking ownership of like, I could have done this differently, which ultimately ties into the second trait you mentioned, which is adaptability, right? It's
Yep.
being able to adapt to like, this didn't work out. Here's how I can pivot to take ownership and ultimately be adaptable to the next step. So let's jump into adaptability. How can people have more adaptability? And I'll add a twist to it. I think for some people, it's a lack of knowledge
Mm.
of like, I don't know how to do another version of this exercise because the machine was busy at the gym, or I was supposed to train at the gym, but now I'm stuck at home and I don't know how to do this exercise at home.
Yeah, cool. Well, this is new for me. I don't know whether I've gone more into how people can have more adaptability. However, I'll brainstorm it with you right now, I guess.
Beautiful.
As their trainer, we can give them options. Like often I will talk through like a struggle that a client is having, whether it be food related, usually it's food related. So a time that they've slipped up and they're at a loss and they're giving themselves guilt, and I might just suggest, say, so how about if next time that this happens, because it will happen another time, that you potentially do this instead? And you read their face. You're like, oh no, that doesn't really resonate. Well, okay. What do you think would be a better thing to do, a more effective thing to do next time? And probably you need to set yourself up for that in advance. If you're not going to the chocolate after dinner next time, then you need to have that alternative that you are going for after dinner next time. And you need to have the chocolate out of the house as well, to make it easier on yourself. So I think you're asking them, what could I do next time? You're providing alternatives for them
Mm-hmm.
as well. Potentially, you're asking them about the individuals in their life that are doing really well at that thing that they're struggling with, because sadly, sometimes they're trainer, sometimes you're this like, even though I look like the everyday person and I am the everyday person, sometimes they think you're this like incredibly disciplined creature that they just can't relate to. And so maybe they're, oh, so I do this, I keep my tahini in the freezer, or I keep my nuts at work, or far out, I keep this treat in the letterbox. I know that's crazy. They're like, oh, that's too extreme, Kate. So maybe you ask them about the individual that they can relate to, that it really is a closer fit to them and their lifestyle. And you say, hey, do you know what they do in this scenario? Could you ask them?
Yeah. Modeling a proven concept for the people that have done what you want to do.
Yep. Yep, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'd love to ask you, because obviously you have a lot of knowledge in this space and you've been at it for a long time. What is the current mission that you're on, that you're working on?
So the huge mission, obviously, that I hinted at before is that I really want to be part of creating a healthy, happy, vegan world. Like I am in it for that. Like that is a huge idealistic, some might say delusional goal. That is what I want. I guess my current strategy to help us get there is both the Healthification podcast, which it was my huge pleasure to have you guest on, and like that is my heart. It's over 800 episodes. I speak to passionate and compassionate individuals, and I absolutely love it. And the latest, I guess, venture is the Plant Positive Journal. So it's a little vegan Trojan horse, I would say, and that it's a daily planner and journal that step by step helps you adopt a healthy plant-based lifestyle by mastering your time and your mind. And I designed it to be this like stunning thing that would infiltrate non-vegans' lives just because it's pretty and very user-friendly. But bit by bit, there's the vegan truth bombs and the delicious plant-based recipes and all the mindset hacks to help you adopt a plant-based lifestyle. So my mission right now is getting that little beauty out into the world. It weighs almost a kilo, so shipping it from Australia to internationally, it's happening, but it's expensive. And yeah, getting visibility for that is probably my biggest mission right now.
Oh, beautiful. Well, for all the people listening, I'm going to put the links down below for your plant-based positive journal. I'll link the podcast as well, our episode that we had together, and the website, so people can find out some more, support you on there. Is there anywhere specifically you'd like to direct them besides the journal and the website?
The website's the best. It's just strongbodygreenplanet.com, and it links you up to everything that you might be interested in there.
Beautiful. So I always like to end the podcast with words of wisdom. Is there any words of wisdom that you would like to share with the listeners?
So, Maxim, I imagine your audience are a whole bunch of super disciplined and dedicated individuals, and whether they're working hard towards a specific body composition goal or whether it's more about impacting the world so far as a healthy, happy vegan world, something that I think we all need to remind ourselves is it's not going to happen as fast as we might most love it to happen. And so the need for self-compassion and self-care is huge. It's something that I can get better at, and it's something that most
Me too.
vegans I've met can get better at. I thought it might resonate. And so I just think making the time in your every single day and your week for self-care, whatever that is for you, I think that is something hugely important to focus on, because whatever you're working towards, you need to look after you first so that it can be sustainable and even enjoyable and fun.
Beautiful. Well, okay, I really appreciate the words of wisdom. I really appreciate all the value that you've shared to the listeners. So everyone for listening, again, all her links will be down below. Check out the podcast, the website, and the journal. And Kate, thank you very much for jumping on the show.
Maxim, it was a massive pleasure. Thank you so much for everything that you do.